about costs. But by far, and I really mean this, by far the most popular subject this afternoon is water, sewage, and the dumping thereof. Maggie G is our first caller, calling us from North East Yorkshire. Hello, Maggie.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I saw rather clumsily with my trail earlier say, do give us a snapshot of what the water is like, and immediately regretted it because somebody said the pictures you'll get are disgusting. What is it like where you are?
Well, we're having a very, very heavy die-off, and that's the only word we can use, of shellfish in this area. Now, for as long as I have known, the sewage issue has been ongoing. You know, it's nothing new. It might be slightly up, it might be slightly down. I don't have those figures. What we do have is evidence, photographic evidence and scientific evidence of dead crabs and lobsters washing up on the shore by their thousands. Their thousands. They started in about 2021 when the steel industry on the Tees banks was starting to be destroyed, demolished. And a new free port is planned, which required dredging of the river. Now, the River Tees has been used as a dump by industry for hundreds of years. Chemicals, steel, coal, you name it, the river was the easiest way to get rid of the waste. It settled on the river bed, and as long as it stayed there, it wasn't really an issue. Then suddenly somebody decides, we're going to have a free port here. We need the river to be deeper. And they start dredging. The sludge that's been picked up from the river bed was dumped in the sea about 2 or 3 miles off. Suddenly we get the lobsters and crabs washing up dead.
And does that mean, first of all, how long have you lived there, Maggie? How long have you lived in that area?
Well, I'm coming up 75 years old now.
Right. Okay. And so, a long time. So, are you saying sort of in maybe the last 5 years, 10 years? And I'm trying to get a picture of what it's like when you go for a walk that you've probably taken since you were very young. I mean, are you crunching on, the dead bodies of crustaceans that have washed up?
Yes. It's sometimes when it's at the worst, it's sometimes 3 and 4 inches deep. Of dead crabs and lobsters. Now, bearing in mind that these creatures that could be harvested from the sea are part of the food chain. They're part of an industry, a local industry, that is dying from Hartlepool down to Whitby. The fishing industry are tying up the boats because it's not worth their going out. They can't catch anything. Now, this last week, we had a wash-up of mussels, razor clams, and if anybody doesn't know what a razor clam is, it's a very long, thin shellfish, very reminiscent of the old cutthroat razor. When you look at it,
it's beautifully described. I couldn't describe it any better. Yeah.
Yeah. And starfish. Now, when I was a kid, we would go down to the coast, rock pooling, and if we caught a starfish or if we found a starfish, it was, hey, look what I've found. This week, hundreds of them washed up dead on the beach.
Maggie, what do we do? What do we do about this? What should be done about this?
We have tried to, local groups have formed to try and get investigations carried out as to what's causing it. We have a great idea that one of the chemicals that's been found is a thing called pyridine, which was used in both the chemical industry and the steel industry.
I mean, have you?
It's nothing to do with us.
Okay.
Teresa Coffey was in front of the select committee last week, and she said, "We think it's an unknown pathogen that's causing this die-off."
So can I ask you? Okay, so Maggie, number one, you want a comprehensive investigation into what this stuff is and where it's coming from. Number two, if it's the water companies that are responsible, one of the things that came out this morning in the news just this morning, and I was talking about it just last night when those figures came out about the number of millions of hours that sewage has been released into rivers and seas in England. the proposal is that they will lift the cap on fines. You know, and so the suggestion is that they'll go after the companies that aren't doing their, you know, what they should to keep the waters clean. And then there was a counter argument that, hang on, if you do that, then people's water bills will go up. And then I even heard another argument yesterday from a water company saying, well, you know, if you do that, if you punish us through dividends, you know, and say, well, right, we can't give dividends or make profits, then nobody's going to want to run a water company. And then what's going to happen is that you'll have no innovation, you'll have no money going into it. So, I mean, what do you think is the right pathway? If Trace Coffees or anybody is listening right now, what are you going to say to them? What do they need to do right now?
Well, I think that water is a natural and essential part of life. And I think it should be a nationalised commodity. And any profits made should be ploughed right back into it, not given out in terms of dividends and telephone number salaries to the CEOs.
OK. Listen, I'm very grateful. A very strong first call. Thank you very much, Maggie. 03700 100 444. So, I mean, just to if you didn't hear the news this morning, the government has vowed to crack down on spills. And they've said, you know what they'll do?